Yeah, so I just wanted to make a video that just goes a bit more over the properties menu, particularly with the brushes, because the thing is I noticed that some of my menus weren't coming up in the screen capture, but I believed I arranged it in a way so now you can kind of see the properties, and of course the properties are that you have are your size of your brushes as well as other things. And here you can see, both the paintbrush and the line brush are set at the stroke of 1, but the size is a bit different, which is the differences between those brushes that I've discussed. But there are other things you can do with properties, mainly, with the vector line that you have here. And again, you can see I'm changing the size without really going to the menu, and that's because I'm using the hotkeys, which are the bracket keys to kind of increase and decrease size. So, yeah, with this line, there are all these different kind of funky styles you can use. I suppose I don't really typically get into those, with mine, but perhaps, maybe like this would be a good one if you're trying to do some freckles or something, So that is certainly a thing, that you can look at and make things easier for you. And there will be, like, the style kind of option as well, I believe, when you use just your regular old brush tool. But the thing I wanted to talk about was also what you don't have, with this, you have your smoothing here, but what you don't have with this vector kind of line, the paintbrush tool, as opposed to just the regular brush tool, is you don't have the option of these brush shapes, which I wanted to kind of get into and show you a bit, how those might look, because I have used, the different brush shapes available here for different things, as well as the default one you're going to start off with is just the circle. And that's going to make your stroke a bit like this, You can make circles, but you have, these kind of tips, which make strokes look like that. And then, if you just click, like, once you can go with these kind of lines. And those, there are basically just different variants on that kind of idea of a slant, where the slant is just a bit of a different kind of angle. You also have these rectangular ones, which I think are great for, if you really want some kind of straight lines, and also if you wanted to do maybe kind of like a brick pattern. You have these ones, which are, that'll give you a good kind of thick line. You have squares, and then you have these little ovally ones, which, draw lines kind of, this way. I've been making straight lines. By the way, you can make straight lines and keep them straight by just pressing the shift key, if you didn't know that. And you can make kind of these ovally shapes. I think that might be excellent for kind of, like making an eye, of some kind. So you do that, and then you have your little ink bucket tool that can put like a nice stroke kind of around it. Oh, okay, maybe that's too much. Let's make the stroke. Wow. The stroke thing on here is like a little ridiculous. So you'd keep it like around that kind of 2 area. And actually, probably what I should do is, I should have made a different layer to demonstrate these strokes, but then you see you have your ink bottle tool that puts a line around it, then you can kind of go back, just do, with the, paintbrush tool, change your brush shape again so that it is, circles. And, you have kind of an eye. So, just keep in mind, you can have, what kind of stroke and stroke variants and stroke, things that you might kind of get in terms of, drawing these shapes, but also, just, what happens when you just click is you get a shape, and then, how you can work with the shapes in your favor, or say, you got rid of that. Now, with this, which is like the oval that goes in another direction, maybe you get a bit of a cat eye or something. So, just things to keep in mind in terms of, how you can make shapes more easily. You do have these tools which help you create, circles. They help you create ellipses, but yeah, so what that is that it's like the shape, but then it's already got these strokes around it, which is fine if that's what you want. But maybe it isn't always what you want. And as I was saying, if you want to create an eye, you could just do it with the, brush tool and, ink bottle tool by kind of, working in this way. Or rather, you have filled out white and, do, the steps with the ink bottle tool. Or you could, just create, ellipses as well. And that would have, the same effect, kind of, depending. But, maybe, let's say you're making an eye, and you want the shape to be slightly different. So, you want this rectangle, but you want it to be at an angle. Then you can kind of, it doesn't want to. Then you can kind of, tilt it a little bit. Then maybe, and that's the other thing about, the paintbrush tool, is you can kind of, pull on it. It's a bit kind of this doughy kind of relationship with, your selection tool and how you can, manipulate this shape. So maybe instead of just having, an eye that's an oval, you, kind of do that and have that kind of a thing going on. So just all kind of different ways you can manipulate these brushes. Ultimately, for line work that I've done, the line work in this simulation, it's, black, and I'm either using the this line kind of vector tool exclusively, or if I use this, it kind of stays, on the circle. But these types of other lines can be great for different effects. They can, put you a bit closer to the shape that perhaps, you want. Like here, this variates kind of line width in a really nice, beautiful way that I kind of like. And, it can be good for other things. Like here, if we go in, I explicitly, kind of used these little, this, brush tool, and I put it in, this kind of brown, and I made it really small, and I found that was a good way to do kind of, these little eyebrow hairs on this poster where I had, this big eyebrow. So, those are just, the different shapes that you can kind of explore a bit further when you look at your brush properties.